It's Shirley Tully with Spirit of Matter, and we're in a Do It by Feet episode. So, this is the second episode of the series. You can go look at my first episode on my journey to heal the structure of my feet. And I'm going to tie it in with the astrology today and address the astrology of our feet, how timely it is to take care of the structure of our feet, and what effect would it have on your chart as you're doing that, how to use astrology to tend to our feet better. So let's change to where I currently am. I always like to take a look at the chart of the time of the recording because it is the vantage point and it will predict a lot of the themes that will come up regarding the topic. So this is a Monday and the moon is in Pisces. Naturally, it's a great time to talk about feet because feet are ruled by Pisces. The moon is applying to sextile Uranus in Taurus. Funnily enough, one of the things that I wanted to mention about our toes is not just our thinking, reflexology wise, but my experience is that it does affect the neck. If we tend to our toes and the space between our toes, I noticed that as I'm doing that, I'm beginning to have all the bone structure of my neck being released and realigned. So the position of my neck becomes better, and Taurus rules the neck. Uranus is something unusual. So that can be an unusual way to tend to our neck, in this case, through our feet or the toes in our feet. And we are indeed on a Mercury day, which is not surprising because Mercury deals with our hands, our shoulders, and our fingers. So the toe part of, or aligning the toes of the feet, is basically tending to the Mercury part of our feet and doing something with it. And we'd usually use our hands too. There are some, depending on the situation with your feet. If you have a bunyan, if you have hyphus, lower arch or flat foot, then, and again, this is not it's not a medical advice, it's knowledge from experience. So anything to do with knowledge from experience is relevant here. Anything to do with medical advice is not relevant in here. I am a holistic health practitioner, but this is a knowledge from experience episode. Okay, so if you want to understand what is knowledge from experience, A, you can ask me in the comments below. B, you can Google that and see what can you expect and what can you not expect. Okay, it's more general awareness raising episode than also astrological teaching more so than a medical teaching. So when we address Mercury, we address in the body, we address also the fingers. So aligning of the fingers in our feet does have an effect, the toes basically, on our neck. And so we have this very interesting composition where through the feet we tend to our neck and we tend to our shoulders because our neck affects the position of our shoulders. So we're going back from Mercury, back to Mercury through Pisces. And we do it in an unusual way, right? Uranus. We also are changing the structure, the bone structure, the muscle structures we begin to exercise. And the chart of the day has Mercury in Aries, just ingressed Aries. Aries is ruled by Mars, it's ruled by the head. And so when we tend to our toes, especially the bigger toe, we also tend to our head, our physical head. Whether it's the pituitary gland, whether it's our endocrine system, which is also a nervous system that is also in our head, not only. And not only that, the ruler of the moon, that is Jupiter, that rules Pisces, is in Aries, which is a Mars-ruled sign. And what does Aries deal with? Aries is ruled by Mars. Mars is action. So it's the action that some action that we take regarding to our feet. It's also athletic action. Okay, we're training our the muscles in our feet right now. It's a great time to do that in general, wherever your ascendant is, as long as you're doing that in a way that is aware. I cannot teach you how to do that because I was not trained to, but you can check about aligning the structure of your feet, feet health exercises for your feet. Mars itself is in Gemini, so it's very likely that uh, anything around the toes will appear. So exercise for your toes, creating space between the toes and then, crunching the toes, and that sort of muscly intervention, while perhaps holding your toes with your hands and aligning them to be straight. And then you need a professional to tell you what is the correct position that you're achieving. And that is something that I cannot do. I'm just raising awareness. And Jupiter is understanding also the holistic experience of whatever exercise we do. This is why Jupiter in Mars world is very linked to martial arts, as or Mars in Jupiter sign, like Mars in Pisces, or perhaps Mars in Sagittarius. But I realized it's more so Mars in Pisces from Austin Coppock, who talked about martial artists and their tendency to have Mars in Pisces. And so, as we are having this toe athletic, that can be also funny, which is another facet of Mercury. Okay, we work our toes. We get to feel how the certain parts in our body react to that. So our big toe, for example, tends to the head. Underneath the second two toes from the big toe, we have both our left and right eye. This is not the toes themselves, but underneath them. Now, if the toes are displaced by bad shoe, because most shoes do not, they crunch your toes, and you need something that is actually supportive of separating the toes and creating space that is natural. So if the toes are not in the right position, the pillows underneath them are not in the right position either. This means that both our eyes are displaced, and so our entire outlook at reality, from in physics, in spirit, and in matter, is askew. Okay, so the position of the body and the position of the way we view the world, and that's just one thing, right? Um, so, and we do have Chiron here that Jupiter separated from. So there could be awareness. That could be awareness of how, hey, if I just hold my feet, my toes aligned, and I try to think about the problem, you can try that. Like, try that. Hold your toes in a way that is aligned, or do the yoga position where you take your fingers and you just place them in between your toes and align them and just open the space with them, as I'm doing right now, which you can't see. And think about the problem. Think about something that troubles you. Think about something that you need to solve in your life. You might even find a solution after doing that. Okay? I was thinking, for example, about my teeth and how I want to have a good regime for my teeth, and I want to have a good insurance for my teeth, and the the usual insurance doesn't cover that. And then lo and behold, I got, like, I didn't press any key. I just found a company that sells teeth insurance in my country, and I was like, oh, I just gave them a number, and hope they won't call in the middle of the video. But it was like, hey, I was thinking about some problem, and and something came. I created the space, literally, physically in my body, because I've been doing that all day, um, for a solution to come, or for an offer, for something to come, for an idea to come. Oh. So the toes holistically also deal with the details of life. Like I said, I was looking for a better teeth insurance because what I pay right now does not cover the what I need in a way that is accessible to me. And it's details, okay? It's those little details in life that do matter quite a lot. The teeth can also be decisions. Okay, so toes and teeth. Um, right now we have Saturn in Pisces. The moon is not making an aspect to Saturn as I speak. But Saturn in general deals with bone structures, nails, teeth, skin, and the bones and the hair, of course. So, structure, the Saturn in Pisces, one of the very physical manifestations is the structure of your feet. And when you tend with Saturn, when you tend to that, when you tend to realigning the structure of the bone structure, the nail structure of your feet, it connects you to having a structure for your life. It connects you for thinking more correctly or seeing the, first of all, just noticing the things that you need to notice, because sometimes we don't think about things, we avoid things. Okay. Um, and when we create space for thought, we can tend to more things, more of the details of life, as we have the space. We create basically the head space and the holistic space for things to come about. I was watching one of the videos yesterday about how to tend to your bunyan, but it's not just for bunyan. It's also for the feet in general and the developmental stage of feet. And so babies are, as they are born, they begin to move their feet, and the way that they move their feet, they begin to flap their feet and make space between their toes, and they tend to do, like cat doing whiskers stuff, like kneading. Then they literally begin to sort of knead the air, and their toes are going from like having space and contraction, expansion, contraction, expansion, preparing the bone structure and preparing the muscular tissues to land, okay, to begin to try and walk, to begin to try and lift themselves, because we are mostly, as we move ourselves as human beings, we move on our feet. And so adult people who've been wearing the wrong shoes, who've been not practicing, need to realign the structure of their feet. And so many people have feet structure problems, whether it's hyphus, whether it's platypus, whether it's bunyan, where your toes begin to go, misaligned, and it can have inflammation. Okay? Um, so Saturn is about contraction, so the muscular contraction that you do after you realign, or having, think about how you straighten your toes. Okay? You basically wear something that confines your toe in the right structure. It realigns, and this is a confinement that you begin to move your muscles around, so that the muscle build around the correct structure of toe alignment of the bone, because the muscles are formed around the bone, and the muscles will allow the movements that we point them to. And instead of having a surgery, for many cases, instead of having a surgery, or even a lung, even if you got to a point where you have inflammation, you need to have a surgery. Even in that point, a surgery alone won't help. You also have to change the habits of how you wear your toes, how you walk, and how you exercise your feet. Saturn in Pisces is a great time to do so. So Saturn in Pisces in general talks about the bone structure in our feet, the skin in our feet, and the nails. Okay, so if we have now, because we have Pluto in Saturn sign, a lot of us might be dealing with toenail fungi, which is a Pluto thing. We need to rejuvenate the cellular structure of our skin, our nails, our hair, our teeth. Okay, so there can be fungi related issues that when we begin to tend to, we begin to tend to the structures of our lives individually and as a society. Because if I was born as a baby and I was doing everything right with my feet, but the shoes that were available for babies did not leave place for my feet, then my toes would grow askew. That would affect my head, my endocrine system, my nervous system, my neck, my shoulders, my heart chakra, all the chakras, okay, from above and below. And then my entire being would be askew, the way I would see the world, the way I would experience the world, and the experiences that I would create in the world. So simple, okay, everything related to everything. The Saturn in Pisces can provide us a chance to tend to realigning our bone structure, and it will always have to do with more than a medical procedure. Okay, it doesn't. Some people need surgeries, but some people it's not just a surgery. Okay, if you do a surgery and then you do the same things that you did, you will need another surgery. Um, so Saturn calls us to tend to our feet. It's especially important if Pisces is in your first, sixth, or 12th house, because the first house is the physical body, the sixth house is the elements that you have that are very related to labor, to work, or the work of your employees. Okay, if your employees are not healthy and you are a part of the problem, then you will become unhealthy. It's your employees. Okay, they affect your body. It's also your physical body. This is why slavery is also not good for your own health, because if the people that work for you are not well fed and they're not well treated and they're not healthy and they're weaker, then eventually, little by little, you begin to accumulate ailment, because our body is very connected. Okay, and maybe you will even see your own ailment not in your chart but in the chart of your slaves or of your employees. This is something important to remember about the sixth house. Okay, holistically speaking, we affect each other. And the 12th house is more a mental condition, a mental thing. And in this case, for example, the structure of your feet can manifest in a certain way where you begin to have certain thoughts, anxieties. When Saturn was in my 12th house, one of the things I was led to is tend to my feet and begin to consciously identify the space between my toes. It was something I got as channeling, and there was between the big toe and the rest of the toes, it was called the doom and gloom. So you tend to have anxiety, you tend to be afraid of things, and then in between the next two fingers is our eyes, so we can have a good interpretation. And I was shown like this is interpretation. If I misinterpret or I want to have the clarity of interpretation of a situation, then I tend to the space between the second two fingers while I align the bigger toe. So I tend to the doom and gloom, and to the interpretation I have more clarity around reality. Okay, if Pisces is in your 12th house, having this praxis can help you tend to situations where you're either over anxious or you're dissociative. And if you interpret the reality in the correct way and you tend to your fear of doom and gloom, then you are more guided about the steps. Okay, and the word steps at least is literally both in Hebrew and in English, dealing with literally stepping. Okay, one foot after the other foot. And as we tend to these, to the structure of the foot, we tend to the structure of our steps in the world, as well as holistically seeing what steps should I make, especially in the 12th house where it's so unclear of what you should do. Okay, if you dedicate daily time to the structure of your feet, the structure of your toes, aligning your feet, if you have, I don't recommend actually wearing nail polish, because oftentimes when we wear nail polish, we don't see whether underneath our nails there is something hidden. See, we don't tend to that. So unless you're like super pedant and like Virgo stellium or something, then with Saturn there, then I would actually recommend to either wear a nail polish that is transparent, or just for a while spend without nail polish and just see what happens with your nails. Do they get dirty? Do they need treatment? And also, perhaps you didn't have money to do pedicure to remove your skin, which is also Saturn. Then there are some ways that you can yourself. Some of you, it's about learning how to do it yourself and not relying the person who does your pedicure. Some of you, you actually need to hire a pedicure and to allocate money, okay, to allocate resources. If Saturn is in your, if Pisces is in your second house, it might mean that you spend on your feet in a way that you go and visit another person who would do your pedicure, and that would be the remedy for you. Okay, we would need to see the chart itself, because maybe you're trying to have a business and trying to make money, but you're not providing for other people. You're doing everything yourself. Okay, if Pisces is your second house, Aries is your third house, and third house is also the business. And so if you're doing everything yourself, you are not providing for other people, and so the money that comes to you is limited because it's like you're only providing for yourself, and you don't get to connect with the flow, the cash flow, which is another, you know, Pisces second house is very much about cash flow. Um, and so as the liquidity increases, then new money can come in because you're supporting. It's like the universe will give you, unless there's something impeding that, more money to go to your pedicure person and provide for them, and they provide for you, and so you get this ecosystem where you get this connection, interconnection between people. Um, and then we need to look. So the passage of Saturn in Pisces is 3 years from recently. Okay, it's just moved into Pisces this month, and those are 3 years that one of the remedies you can do is basically align the structure of your feet. Just tend to it, and it's such a simple remedy. You can do it with the yoga posture where you get the fingernails. You can begin to work your ankles, begin to move your feet, and just tend to it. You can do it as a morning ritual. You can do it, and anything about the feet, whether it's removing the dead skin, and try to do it not with a knife. It's preferred not with knives to do that. This is advice I got from someone who's doing medical pedicure. You scrape that. One of my favorite ways is actually to do like a warm bath for the feet, sometimes maybe with salt. And then I literally take my own fingers and I begin to scratch my feet, because then I have a sense. Like I can remove the dirt, the dead skin later, but I have a sense of what's going on. I'm touching my feet with my own hands. Um, that is very useful. Um, we are, and so this is 3 years, okay? 3 years that you tend to go about your feet, and whatever is Pisces in your chart begins to have a change and improvement in the spirit that Saturn wants to give you. Whether it's about learning to remove your dead skin, and your dead skin is dead memories, is dead pathways, is things you need to let go of. And also when the skin is being removed, also around your nails, okay, like pedicure, then you touch the certain meridians and chakra points. And right now, so we are having, Saturn separating from a trine with Sedna. Um, we are having a touch to the meridians, and if we having a daily addressing the meridians around our nails, the meridians around our body through our feet, both the hands and the feet and the toes, we are making sure that any congestion is being removed, and that would also contribute to make Sedna transits a lot easier. You know what you need to do. Okay, you know more what you need to do, because Sedna has to do with the meridians of the body and of the earth. And you will see it when you begin to apply it, hands-on experience, which I'm really supportive of, especially with Mercury in Aries. As you begin to apply it daily, then you will see. Try to see what comes through your mind. Try to see how does your worldview change. Try to see what things you address, and try to see what happens when you do that. Okay, you become more aware of what is needed. I noticed that my neck constantly, like the minute I began to do it, I realized how much, like I repent not doing that earlier, and how much my neck needed this attention. to straighten the basically the spinal cord, and how the alignment of the spinal cord is so important. Um, so it can be the toes. Now with Mercury, it can also be your heels, your ankles. Again, the skin, the arch of the foot. So strengthening the arch of the foot. Do right. Don't just listen to me. Go to people who teach that. One good tip I have to give you is that if you are bunyan, if you have like toes that are askew, and it's not inflamed, um, then people will tell you go do a surgery. No, listen to the people who treat the feet, who do exercises for the feet. Listen to the advices and tips that they give, because they're useful, and they are whether you will or will not do surgery, you will still need to apply that. Okay, so listen. And you have so much time until Saturn begins to conjunct Neptune. That can be a surgery, that can be a medical case or drugs or something needed. You have so much time. You have maybe almost 2 years until you need to see a medical person to give you drugs regarding that. So there's so much you can do right now. And now when we know that this is the framework of the 3 years, we can look at what comes into Pisces, and what and where is Jupiter that rules Pisces. Okay, as we go along the 3 years and follow, do it by feet. You can follow my feet, right? You do it by feet. I will address that. I will readdress that. And if you ask me and write in the comments below, then or remind me of that, then I will definitely make episodes that tell you like where is Jupiter now, what is in Pisces now, and how does that relate to what the changes we want to bring to this practice of doing it by feet. So right now we have the moon. Moon is about nourishment, um, and it is making an aspect to Uranus. So for me, Uranus is in the third house. Having a vlog today is very timely. Although the moon is decreasing, I might release that some other, like when the moon is increasing. And basically caring for your feet, perhaps eating the right food. Okay, if you need to cut off certain sugars or cut out certain wheat, food for the bone structure, so things that strengthen your bones. Even bone soup, if it's winter where you're at, can be beneficial. The good oils. Again, I'm not a nutritionist, so you need to do your own research regarding that. But the essential oils that you need for your body, the essential vitamins, and to get them from the best sources that you can allow. So fish are good for omega-3, and which is also good in terms in joining with other vitamins and minerals for bone health and for nervous system health. So fish is ruled by Pisces, well resourced. I've actually found myself just buying sardines without thinking about it. So yeah, that's one thing you can do. Like I said, we have Saturn. The Sun is about to ingress into Aries. Now, the Sun is now in the anaretic degree of Pisces. Sun, well, you can turn to those little pillows underneath your toes, because they are also relating to your heart. And when you align the big toe, you're basically aligning the heart and mind. So that is something you might want to address. Um, I believe as the sun entered Pisces, I bought my toe aligning device, which is not with me here now. But I have my hands to do the job. And the Mercury in Pisces, I was definitely doing that with my hands. Jupiter itself is in Aries. So Jupiter in Aries is excellent time to do feet athletics, okay? The little muscles that you need to practice, around the ankles, around the toes. You hold your toes and then you do the spacing and contracting of your toes. You're basically making exercise Aries is great for exercise. Um, Aries rules the head, so definitely aligning your big toe, Bunyan awareness, spreading awareness. Jupiter is also doing the good things. So it's not just about practicing yourself, but also about spreading the knowledge, spreading awareness. Try to look at people around you. How do they walk with their feet? Okay. And when you're making these exercises, do them everywhere. Okay. Do them at your office. Do them next to your family. Do them in the public transportation. Do not be ashamed. Okay. It's for your health. And then people begin to wonder the question to look, and then you can have a conversation. You can explain what you are doing, and so you spread awareness. This can be life changing for people, and you don't have to do it in a messiah way. You just do it by inspiration. And Jupiter Aries is a great time for acting by inspiration. You're just taking care for your own health, and people begin to ask questions, so you can share the information, and you can explain that, or you can turn that, like you can direct them to this link to my video where I explain about the feet and the Do It by Feet series, and the holistic effect of that. One of the things that I noticed was how many shoes are not structured correctly. And the way I see it, Aries is in my second house. I see it as innovation. Okay, this is a blue ocean for designing shoes that are in the correct form. This is a blue ocean for selling shoes, whether it's me making a patent, or me working with people who do that, or traders the trade in the right shoes, and if they're well sourced, and if they're ethically, it's important how the products are sourced, and um, if they're ethically sourced, then hey, that's something good we can do for the world, because who makes our shoes, right? Who makes our shoes? Maybe we can change our business models to accommodate for better health for the entire supply chain. And I talked about it when I was talking about the Madagascar crystal in a previous episode. So there's just all of these things that Jupiter and Aries can do. It's about innovation, new businesses, new brands, new patents around this, sharing products with Mercury enter Aries, so trade, and sharing information, inspiring, spreading awareness, as well as noticing how the exercise we do to maintain our feet health, those little muscles give structure to the entire reality, and how they allow us to pave the path, because in Aries we pave the path. Now in the world we are all paving a new path for humanity. There are revolutions everywhere. The financial system is unstable. There is new awareness. We've been, if you wanted to keep your money safe, you would invest in gold, silver, boli, colis. And now you understand that all of that is collapsing, and that the gold and silver that you've been investing to maintain your money, and to hold its value, not to increase, but to hold its value in the face of the fear of inflation, then you understand now it's created from magma. And the metals are created from magma. It's our coinage. It's the gold and silver that we hold when we want to invest our money, so that we won't lose our money in our retirement. And so what we rely on is something that is slowly and gradually eating the earth from within. Because if I take all the metals from the magma, from the eruption of volcanoes, and I use them for coins for this, if I harvest the mountains, then I damage an ecosystem not only above the earth but within the earth. And then lo and behold, plenty of earthquakes, plenty of this, plenty of that. Who can know? Maybe the way that we see Uranus and Taurus is very much affected, but the gradual changes that we did, of mining the earth of resources, because we were not aware, because we did not know how much can we mine, how much, what is the effect, and what can be a good replacement for that. Okay, so technology can be one point of view, but then what do we source? There is always interference with the ecosystem. Whatever we do, there is interference with the ecosystem. That being said, if we are constantly mining, the people who do the mining do not get rights. The mining itself is so intense that we do not diversify our portfolio of energy investment allocation. um, then the way we rely on our own holding our economy is not diversified. It's like, what can you do? Silver, gold, life insurance that is interrelated with bolis and colis, which is the bonds that you have where a large organization like a bank or an insurance company buys insurance for its employees, funded by your money. So it's like we're eating each other up economically. Now, one thing we need to set the record straight. If I'm we are What is the number one longevity tip is consuming antioxidants. Why? Because we breathe oxygen all the time, and the residue is basically making our body innerly rust, and antioxidants prevent this process. So the process of our aging is a side effect of the process of our breathing. That being said, consuming antioxidants, which is a diversity of foods, in plant-based foods, because antioxidants, what I know of at least, are plant-based. So even if you are a meat eater, it's very likely that your antioxidants are plant-based. So we need to diversify our consumption in order to remain alive. And the importance of diversity and biodiversity in the preserving of humanity. Okay, if we are all mining gold and all of our pensions are on gold, and we say, oh, we have a safe structure, but it's slowly crumbling from within. So it's both about being compassionate that this is what we did. Okay, we don't have an option of not breathing oxygen and staying alive. But we do need to consume antioxidants. So what is the economical, again, Aries for me is the second house, so these are the things that I think about as I'm aligning my feet, my toes and my feet. So we need to restructure and create more diversity so that we can rely on diversity of coinage, diversity of investments, and decentralizing our economy. Okay, and we also need to understand that there's a natural process of centralization, and also a natural process of decentralization. So the notion that there are sort of ecosystematic guidance to economy like that is also true. The That being said, it is in alignment that we revolutionize our view of economy and our policies to be more decentralized, to be more diversified, um, so that we can survive as a species. And if I look at the astrology of Pluto heading to 20 years in Aquarius, I'm like, yes, that makes sense. The banking system needs to be more decentralized. And when I say that, I absolutely do not judge, because think about when you are working and you're looking for a stable job. If you would come to a company, you would do your best to show that you're a stable employee that doesn't move much from job to job, and that you studied in that and that place that is very well known, and you come from that and that family, and you have these and these people who recommend you. So you show the image of stability and safety, because that was what we were looking for in our workplaces. And then you would ask about the company: for how long do you exist? For how long have you been? So we would look for Saturn, Capricorn like features. And when the company says, we own the entire planet, we have been existent since so and so, like 300 years or so, then you can rely on the sun shining tomorrow, and you would prefer to work for these big companies. Okay? Startups are rising like shrooms every day, and there are mergers and acquisitions happening every day. So people would prefer, like, if I can work for Google, if I can work for Amazon, that have proved themselves relatively stable, and now this stability is being decentralized, because these are natural processes. Okay, any company, if spirit of matter becomes an enterprise, there will be a threshold where spirit of matter, like, this channel will need to be diversified and decentralized. And we need to understand that. You know, however we maintain our longevity, there is transience to things. Um, so that's just one of the things that we're dealing with. And as we are creating these new structures, it makes sense that we exercise the muscles around our feet that we touches the ground. Jupiter will later go into Taurus. Okay. And so we will need to see what kind of, what kind of tendon to our feet within the 3 years that Saturn is in the feet will we need by then. Perhaps more the pleasure, the sensual pleasure of the feet. Do you know that you can tantrically come from the toe, from your nail toe, and you don't need to have an athlete's foot to achieve that experience? you know and Taurus is a lot about sensual pleasure, so our feet are also sensual pleasure. If you talk about Scorpio, it's more like fetish, but it doesn't have to be fetish. It's just the sensual pleasure that we experience, not just in the feet but inside our body. If I touch this point and I concentrate and I breathe Jupiter, breathing in, expansion, expanding the lungs, breathing in, and I focus my consciousness Jupiter, and I don't know, uh, the space between my toenail and the base of my toe, like there's an orgasm that comes from that. And then if I move the consciousness around and I breathe in and I concentrate and I enjoy the touch of my own, like I'm not saying, enslave other people to do that for you, my own fingers, and I was like, oh, there's another orgasm that comes from there. And then energy is being released. So as Jupiter will arrive to Taurus, we can explore the sensual pleasure of like literally pleasuring our feet. Why not? Then Jupiter in Gemini, there's some sort of, and as we do, each one has a different thought. So you see, Aries is in my second house. Well, as I'm practicing my toes while speaking, I came up with an idea of the diversity of economy, of our expenditure, of our coinage, of the natural processes that happen, and so on and so forth. Depending on where Aries is for you, you will have a different effect, which I will address right away. And the next one is Taurus. So for me, it's the third house. And so I could, I don't know, self pleasure my feet every day. And then I will have new ideas of a podcast that I want to record. And I'll record that. Um, then we have Gemini, and Gemini is about our technology, and we can align. For example, as I'm holding right now, I noticed that I don't hold my phone in front of my face because I want to show you this chart, and I don't touch the phone because I'm realigning. Like my hands are busy tending to my feet, and so less and less would we prefer to use our cell phones by holding our cell phones, and perhaps less and less would we prefer to have cars where we constantly have one foot that does all the work and there's no alignment, because there's also duality about Gemini. I want a certain sort of balance, a social balance that comes through confrontation and argumentation. And then there's certain sort of social, um, uh, social conflicts, and we will gain new perspective about the social conflicts. Main emphasis will be on our toe structures, aligning our toes, breathing into our toes, the type of breathing to our toes that we have with the martial arts. We may be more aware of that. And then there can be even drama in the street that we're like, hey, my entire body from the toe to the bone tells me I need to say this, tells me I need to do that. This is my next move, this is my next trick, because Mercury is trickery. Then we have Jupiter in Cancer. Okay, how do we nourish our feet? What do we eat? What restaurants do we go to? Where do we step? Okay, the power of our feet to change a certain reality around nourishment. Where do we step in? Where do we show up? And many other things. Jupiter in Leo. Okay, so that can be breathing in order to perform. Or we have certain ideas. We tend to our feet in our morning meditations, and we have certain ideas. And I can go on and on. Like I can have a special episode about that, but we would really need to see it as it comes, because every planet is aspecting something, and that does affect the overall thing that we get. What I do want to do is actually tend to your individual chart, as far as deep as I can, and tell you how tending to your feet and doing these exercises this like today will affect your life. What can it change in your life? So if you have ascendant Pisces, that can change your body health and your life path. So tending to your feet, changing, aligning the structure of your feet will change your life path, where you're headed. Now you need to see where is Jupiter in your own natal chart. Okay, right now it's the time to do these exercises particularly for your toes, perhaps your ankles, and you need to see where is Jupiter in your own chart, because you will begin to leave the Jupiter in your life. If you are looking for a male spouse, then working on Jupiter and improving upon Jupiter can also improve upon your spouse, whether existing or future, because it's Jupiter. Okay, so traditionally, it's also one of the planets that are also ruling the qualities of the spouse, especially the husband traditionally, but I don't think we can say that definitively when we are trying to translate it to today's culture and intermixed genders. I wanted to say intermixed race. So, your physical health, your body health, as well as your life path. And it can very well be the type of partner that you're drawing in as marital partner, or the type of gurus and teachers that are of Jupiterian, those who expand your horizon, those who make you, the inner, the breathing in, those who show you more possibilities, what can be done, okay? And because of the presence of Saturn, it can remediate the presence of Saturn. So if you are, it can alleviate certain depression, certain anxiety, because Saturn is contracting. Okay, it's cold. You definitely want to warm your feet. Saturn also rules minerals, so salt under your feet, salt baths, and so on and so forth. That will improve upon all these things that I just said. So it can be very much related to your life mission, your spiritual view, spiritual quest that you take on, certain mantras. Shiva mantra is related to Jupiter. If you are interested in, mantra singing, that might be some commitment that you want to take on, that can improve upon your things along tending to your feet. Ascendant Aries. Pisces is in your 12th house. So for you will more tend to the holistic concept of what happens when you tend to your feet. You will more feel that as improvement upon your mental health situation. That being said, I'm very cautious with that, because it can mean that you will experience what you need to experience in the 12th house. It's just that the experience will be more meaningful. You will find the meaning in this experience. You will find the good. You will find the strength. You will find the inner power and resilience within the experience that is supposedly contracting of your feet a bit. And as well, medically, you can save your physical feet, or you can save the sense of optimism and interconnectedness in your life, even through grief or loss or whatever it is that you're experiencing. And you can help yourself cope with whatever you're experiencing by tending to your feet, as well as having completely altering the experience of the 12th house for you simply by tending to your feet. Okay, so that it can range from coping to completely transforming, and I don't know which is which for you. There is always the combination of something fated and our choice when it comes to life in general, when it comes to our existence, and so I do not want to give you false hopes, as well as I do not want to contract your vision so that you limit your concept of what is possible, because way more things are possible than you can imagine, and sometimes certain limitations happen and they only yield a deeper transformation or something that opens your horizon to feel. um, so for you, it's going to be more mental. You still do the physical work, but the physical work can improve upon any anxiety that you have, tendency to interpret reality wrong, sense of ungroundedness, dissociation, and so on and so forth. Like I said, this is knowledge from experience. It is in no way replacing tending to these things by the people who are trained to do so, and the people that you find with the 12th house. What I learned from Lada Duncheva, there can be a lot the sense of having to take your own power, and in a way that no doctor can help. So this can be one of the ways that you use if you didn't find the correct help from doctors. And as I always say regarding mental health, I recently learned that the beta blockers are not just used in case of heart conditions and mental health, but they're also used in cases of recovering from having nausea in general, and especially nausea during chemotherapy. And they literally used olnazepine, which is a company that produces Zyprexa, which is a company that had tremendous amount of like people in a class suit against it. Um, and unfortunately they keep like this, they nobody, I didn't even see beta blockers with the advertising, so you wouldn't know, but it's called antipsychotic, and any antipsychotic is a beta blocker. So that's just awareness. Okay, I'm not saying I know what to do, but just like, hey, we definitely need to create a third option. Ascendant Taurus. This makes Pisces your 11th. And so, for example, you more than me can do a FeetAwareness project, because for me, Pisces is the first, but Jupiter is in the 11th. So, depending on where Jupiter is in your chart, you will have, as you do these exercises for your feet and as you tend to your feet, you will have changes and improvement and emphasis on the 11th house. That means your dreams and goals are going to be up to speed with what is right now. Because Saturn is coming, then you would have a lot of maturation. You will be realizing your goals and dreams in the coming 3 years, and tending to your feet will assist you in doing that. Whether you will include literally feet awareness or feet health awareness, or it's going to be some creative project that you do that's very Piscean, or whatever you're doing in that 11th house, conferences that you go to, crowdfunding that you go to, if that's to do with minerals right now, or improving the situation for our minerals, for the environment itself, or alternatively for the miners, the people who give us the crystals, the people who give us the salts, right from the most basic level of the supply chain, which is not currently addressed by legislation. Only the second layer, which is the traders that process the minerals and crystals, is addressed in German law. And German law is one of the most advanced. So you might be creating awareness, creating a change, and tending to your feet will give you the right steps on how to do, what to address, how to address it, on what media, and that can be very useful. This, of course, means if you are looking for a spouse, that this is a good time to improve upon that. But that's general for all signs. Ascendant Gemini. Ascendant Gemini makes Pisces your 10th house, and so tending to your feet daily, and improving the structure of the bones of your feet, of your skin, of your nails in your feet, will improve upon your relationship with bosses, your relationship with your own father or with your own mother, depending on the personal chart and the significations. So you could improve ancestral wounds. In general, because Saturn is ancestry, then that will happen. It's fated to happen, but and Pisces can be healing, but you can basically heal an ancestral wound around your status, the status of your family, the relationship with your boss, the relationship that you have as the boss, because you could become promoted at this time, or you could lose a certain job and find deeper meaning and have a different status. It can be maybe for you it's retirement, depending on your social circle and what you're going through in life, and this could also improve upon the way that you are seen in the world, your image in the world. Thinking about it, the feet is taking up space in your shoe. If you wear the right shoe, you have the right space. And so when you are take the space in your body from the toes, from your the soles of your feet, and when those are healthy, then you release upon generational traumas to do with that, to do with having a status, to do with being seen in the world, the way you're being seen in the world, with having a position in society that can very well improve your life. And right now, this month is very much about this exercise that you do with to improve the muscles around the bone structures and aligning these bone structures with your hands. Mercury, the toes, aligning the toes with your hands, or with a technological device. Um, Cancer. Pisces is in your ninth house, and so do it by feet might mean you will tend to your feet and you find yourself on a plane. You will tend to your feet and you find possibilities regarding travel, regarding higher studies or position as a teacher in higher studies. You need to see where Jupiter is in your chart and what is Jupiter doing right now. Um, all these things can become real for you. Um, Alternatively, if you stay put, it can be your worldview. Your worldview clarifies, your sense of faith is renewed and rejuvenated. Um, your spiritual life is improved, and and it can range from coping to literally rejuvenation that is not inspired by crisis but by actually tending to your feet. This is why I'm making this video, because just tending to your feet can inspire rejuvenation and can inspire a change that is not forced upon you, but you actually delve into, with the best foot forward. Ascendant Leo. That makes Pisces your eighth house. And that can be very exciting, but also quite tremendously, you would need a lot of compassion. Eighth house is both our investments and the energies we shared with other people. This is why this is also a house of trauma, right? It's the basis. What is investments? Investments is our inheritance or the inheritance of our children, or metaphoric children. Inheritance is the insurance, is your retirement. Inheritance is also the generational wealth, and so it is debt, taxes, and we have a lot of trauma around those. Okay? And that can pertain from sexual things to whatnot. Why do I say sexual things? Because for example, just to think in terms of taxation, in many countries, including Israel, if you marry, you can be same-sex marriage, okay? If you marry, the person of you that makes the most money on paper is listed as the beneficiary in favor of taxes for the entire household. That's insanely financially terrible for all people, because you could be the best, most loving couple, and then there is a state structure, and as you tend to the structure of your feet, certain changes will begin to arise depending on where Jupiter is in your chart. Certain separation that is needed or certain union will be formed. And so you have the chance to change upon the structure. For example, if many of you have, like me, have bunyans, then you may have your parent have bunyans. You may have your grandparent have bunyans. And as you begin to align the structure, you begin to address, if Pisces in the eighth house, the ancestral trauma around generational wealth, passed through the generations. You begin to learn about investment. You begin to learn about credit score, liquidity, cash flow, um, the type of wealth that is desired for you. Okay, not what every YouTuber says, not what Shirley says from knowledge from experience, but what you begin to receive. You begin to receive the correct and updated knowledge that fits your structure. Begin to realign the structure of your eighth house, and also purging the ancestral baggage that you have regarding all these issues. So it's especially transformational. Um, Ascendant Virgo. Pisces is your seventh house. And so, just by the merit of Pisces being in your seventh house, even without Jupiter, any partnership, one-on-one partnership, it can be your neighbor, the neighbor that lives in the door in front of your door, or what Germans call Gegenüber, okay, the person in front of you that you're speaking with, your partner, your marital partner, your business partner, some enemies, if you have enemies, or enmity or conflict, okay? Enemies simply mean conflict. If I argue with you about something where we are to a lesser extent a bit of enemies until we resolve this conflict, and then we're no longer enemies, okay? Um, so anything where you need to address another party one-on-one, that is the seventh house. And as you begin to align the structure, you begin to align the structure of your negotiations, as well as the type of people that are your partners. So that can be shedding that skin, can be shedding the partners that you no longer need, creating rejuvenation in the connection, okay, tending to a cellular rejuvenation, or your nails help. um, that can be the structure of your partnership. Okay, how do you structure your relationship? Are they monogamous, not monogamous? The business type relationships that you have. How do you structure the partnership itself? Is it long distance? Is it does it include a lot of traveling? How do you create a sense of travel, exploration of the unknown? Maybe those things can remedy your relationship. You will get the right information as you begin to practice, to apply hands on. And in order to apply hands on, don't just go to me. Look for feet help. Look for exercise for your feet. Then you will begin to diagnose your own feet, because nobody knows about your body and soul more than you. Okay? Except for people in the 12th house, and then you can't, like, you don't know if they're your friends or enemies. So again, you are, like, nobody knows about you more than you. People can assist, people can check, people can show you different facets of yourself with technology or with psychology, but only you know what applies to you. And that's something that nobody can do for you. Okay, if you go out, people tell you, oh, you have to have a surgery, and you're like, but it's not like my bones are not inflamed. Is there exercise that I can do? Yeah, but you want to do it, you have to go. No, Saturn is now in Pisces. You will do that. You will dedicate to that. You will have more the ability to dedicate to what you need to do. Or alternatively, you will let, like, if you've been overworking, if you've been already overtending to your feet, you may need to let it go a bit, to let them rest. If you've been standing on your feet a lot, okay, that affects your partnership. If you've been going out with your partner to, let's say, this Jupiter in your fifth house, and you have been going, that would make Capricorn ruled fifth house, and you've been going climbing mountains with your partners, with your partner, but you do it daily, and then your bones become like they need to rest, and you need to lift your feet up a bit. So hey, like, if you won't tend to that, you will have an injury. If you do too much, even if it's for leisure, like for the best reasons, you need to beware of injuries, and Saturn is also letting go. Um, Ascendant Libra. Ascendant Libra. Um, for you, Pisces is in the sixth house. So tending to your feet, and you could have a certain crisis right now because Saturn is going through Pisces. If you tend to your feet now, if you understand this is your health, then, for example, you can start wearing the braces for your toes if you have bunyan for your workplace and need to sit down. And perhaps there is, like, no doctor that registers that. So that can be a bit of an issue, but this is your health, and you can say this is private, like, this is private because the like my medical insurance won't care of that, but I have to care for my health. I can't do standing all the time. I can't do this all the time. And now you head to taking care of your health and demand, even take a lawyer, demand to have the workplace adjusting themselves to you. There is no reason you should be fired if you're working as a waitress. You just need to sit more. And that is the social change that we need. There is no need for you to be fired. If you're working as a receptionist, they should provide for you a chair that you can sometimes sit, sometimes stand. Okay? And the more you had it, the more you tend to it willingly, consensually, the more likely you are to avoid injuries to the bone structure of your feet. Okay? If you want the doom and gloom, well, I won't say that, but like, you get, I'll leave you to imagine to maintain your health. Okay? Also, if you have a certain pet, then tend to the feet of the pet. Are their nails trimmed? Are they paws, the skin of the paws, oiled? That can save your pet's life, and it can improve upon the relation with your pet. Or you can make a video of yourself doing that, and it blows up the internet, and now you have money. Right? Sort of like you literally see shorts of people just tending having a spa days and trimming the nails and of the paws of their pets, and oiling the paws. This is how I know about it, and you get this short to have million viewers now. You're getting money from YouTube. That can happen. So it's both tending to your feet, to the feet of your pets, and if you have employees, if you're not the employee yourself, then um, spreading this awareness. Invite someone in to lecture them about the feet health, and allocate time. So change the structure of the workplace so that your employees can get time to tend to their feet. Have them do a feet yoga position where they hold their fingers in between their toes every day, and play with that. You'll see improvement. You'll see, because each and every one of them has a chart. So either their partnership is improved, their investments are improved, like they become better, and so your business become better. You're shedding the employees that you no longer need, like shedding that skin, and it happens naturally because they just move forward to where they do like to go. This is what happens with Jupiter. Jupiter gives us what we do want, where we should go, and Saturn gives us the contraction. Okay, shedding off what we no longer need and facing those things. So things will happen more easily, more gradually. And so instead of having to lay off people, you will just have a bunch of people that decided to open their own business in something that's completely unrelated to what you're doing, and evacuating the place for maybe having more limited staff, because Saturn contracts, so you can have limited staff. Or alternatively, having people who are more elderly, of Saturn natures, and can be elderly people, people that do with crystals, with skin, with nails or hair, or like depending on what your business is. And it can be either people who are of Saturn nature, like people experience misfortune, you can give them a job. So you are doing good in the world, and you have the accommodation for that, and then actually your business grows. It grows the image of your business, it grows the income for your business, or you even survive this mayhem of changes. So if you are an employer, the higher up the rank you have, the more freedom you have. But even within the lowest rank of management, there are still things you can do to instill these changes. um Ascendant Scorpio. Pisces would be in your fourth house, right? No, fifth house, sorry. So Pisces in your fifth house, it can be that as you tend to your feet, you find new hobbies, or that your hobbies has to do with your feet now. Saturn can create a restriction. So you have to have a fun way. You can find creatively a fun way to tend to your feet right now. So because there is the risk of injury while doing something that you enjoy. It can be the children. So if you have children, tending to their feet right now, because they can have injuries. Children are more susceptible to injuries simply because it's more difficult to regulate them. And then if they don't tend, when I had Saturn in Pisces, when I was, last time was 28 years ago. Then I would have like I would be in my sports shoes because I like doing sports, and then I did not give enough breathing air for my nails. Then one of my nails, they had to have a tiny surgery because it was penetrating the skin. I was basically not growing in the right direction. I didn't know what I know now about bunions. Um, a pedicure would be something that we would do like in the family, and I didn't think it's that important because I thought it's just aesthetics. And lo and behold, like that makes a difference. And then you're like, okay, I really need to make sure my legs breathe. I really need to make sure my feet are clean and not sweaty all the times with sports. And so children are can tend to have more injuries because it's more difficult to explain to them why is this important. One of the ways you can do is to have a fun way. Okay, a fun way. If they need to wash their feet, then have a jacuzzi for them. Okay, have them do it in a jacuzzi if they like the water in the jacuzzi. Make sure the water temperature is good. Um, uh, Maybe prepare soap with them or whatnot. Like make it fun. Okay, tickle their feet if they enjoy tickling, so that they begin to pay attention. And as you tickle their feet, if it's like pedicure, you can go around the nails, or you could do it with your own feet. And with your children, have this workshop where you go around the nails, and start pressing points and enjoying that. And it's like, oh, it's funny, it's giggly, it's so and so. And they can start playing with their feet and see when they touch this point, what do they feel, and so on and so forth. And so that can be a fun way to get them to be more aware of their feet. um, and to have these feet care like routines more enjoyable, and to save them from high bone structure, nail structure kind of things that save you a lot of visits to the doctor. And depending on where you live, that can be a lot of money. But beyond money, it's like it's good regime that they will carry and will improve wherever the Pisces house and wherever Jupiter is in their life. Like it's really that important. What else can be? We talked about something creative. We talked about your feet, children's feet, gambling. I don't know. Like I'm not the person to give advice on gambling because I don't do gambling. But maybe it can improve upon your luck with gambling. I don't know. The ascendant Sagittarius, and now we're talking about the fourth house. Pisces is your fourth house. Saturn is contraction. So yes, you can lose, like you can have loss because it's also house of death, and Saturn rules that. But um, the experience that you have of tending to your feet can range from coping, okay, with loss, with contraction of the family of upbringing or your own family, or your house. It can be smaller, like maybe you move to a smaller place. So it can be a range of experiences from coping to aligning the structure. So instead of losing someone, or as a part of the process of coping with loss, the structure changes in a good aligned direction. Okay. Um, can it prevent loss? If it is allowed, okay, if it is allowed, then yes, absolutely. But don't take it to the point that if you lost someone, you think you didn't do enough, because it's not the case. Um, so that can align the structure of your own house, the walls around your house. You can strengthen the walls around your house. And as you tend to your feet, you might find the good people that can do the repairing that needs to be done with the walls in your house, with the structures. If you have, some walls made of cement, some walls are not, or some walls made of wood. If you need isolation, because Saturn is also isolating, so better isolation for the winter, preventing leaking energy, preventing leaking temperature, preparing your house for the winter. So as you meditate on your feet, you might get ideas around that, or you might get ideas, or you might begin to look at your relationship with your upbringing family, or the family that you have as a householder, and those relations begin to get the good directions. You begin to interpret the communication, you begin to interpret the situation in a way that is more aligned, and then you begin to see things differently, and so you begin to have new habits. Okay, in Hebrew the word for feet is reglaim, and regel is 1 feet, 1 foot, yeah, and hergelim is habit. So regel, hergelim, reglaim, hergelim. So habit, habitat. Okay, so feet, habit, habitat. And as you tend to the structure of your feet, you tend to the structure of your daily routines, of your habits, and your habits affect your habitat where you live. Um, so for you, yes, you might be moving to a place that perhaps is colder or next to the mountain, but it can provide you with fresh water, better quality water, or the minerals, the water that have minerals in the house, and so on and so forth. Um, Ascendant Capricorn. Pisces is your third house. And so tending to your feet bath is fantastic because it rules bathtubs. So feet bath, feet jacuzzi, having salt baths with your feet immersed, crystals on your feet, that can be lovely. And it will improve upon your daily routines and daily structures. It will improve upon your neighborhood and how safe you feel in the neighborhood, because Saturn rules anxiety, and when you tend to the structure of your feet, you're less anxious. But also, you're not idealizing as much. Okay, if you think, oh, I am safe here, everything is okay, then you will see what you need to see. But also, you will not get too anxious, because you will just see what needs to be changed and you will correct it. Should you go to another, it could be a loss of a neighbor or a good friend or a sibling, but it can also be changing the structure of how you relate with your siblings and closest friends, with the people in your neighborhood. You might either be more open as you weren't before, or you will need to set a bit boundaries as that you didn't set before. Saturn is contraction, but as you tend to your feet, this can actually be expansion, because it's the bone structure. If your bones are stiff, if you have bunyan like me, then you tend to be more closed off, or you can actually be more open. Okay, and I have it, in the third house. So I would do like my bone, like work about my bone structure in public transportation or during the ride. And I would have conversation with people, or I would have enjoy how people look at my feet, and like the anthropological experience of that. And those are the kind of things that you can have. It all third house is also public transportation, so you can spread this feet awareness. Now, one of the conversation I had on the train, there was a person. My feet were not on the seat, like I care for the hygiene. It's not on the account of other people, but sometimes you need to lift your feet up so that you will not have this much pressure on your feet. And the person was not used to it, so it started to argue with me. I said, okay, but if God forbid I was in a wheelchair, would you tell me to get off the train? No? Huh? And then he began to calm down, and I began to calm down, because it was very clear to me that I'm not going to compromise my bone structure, my health, and that as I'm doing that in public transportation, it also means that I'm exposing more people to the effect of that. How important is that? What is this girl doing? What are the things on her feet? And it also allowed me conversations that I didn't have with random people around my neighborhood even. Um, so for you, you can experience a similar effect. More things that it can affect, if there's certain bureaucracy or something that you need to tend to every once in a week, once a week, or once in a couple of days, or every day, you will see the necessary changes that you need to make to the structure, to how you structure your life. um, Ascendant Aquarius. So for Ascendant Aquarius, Pisces is in your second house, and this is the house of income, expenses, and values. It's also what you eat, what you consume. And all of you will get the good, as you tend to your feet, you will get the good ideas for what should you eat. Um, to your sense of self-value can be improved. Okay, if you understand, for example, that maybe you find it difficult to stand on your feet, okay, and you need to work. You work, I don't know, 10 hours a day, 8 hours a day, and you work on your feet. And as you begin to understand that there is the bone structure of your feet that you need to align, okay, you can stop blaming yourself for not being able to stand up like other people. You can start to take a look at your shoes. You can start to take a look at, am I being supported or not? Does the insurance that I pay, it's already expenses, okay? Does the insurance that I pay cover the health of my feet, or do I need to do it private? And if I need to do it private, then wait, the heck, what am I working 10 hours on my feet for? Maybe I need another job. Your values begin to change, okay? And depending on where Jupiter is, there's a new sense of meaning and purpose. There are new values that you have. You eat differently. You walk differently, and as a result of that, you can accept yourself. You have more self-compassion, and you can accept yourself more, and you can become more confident because you understand it's Saturn is the structure of your feet. Like, hey, if the structure of my feet affects how I think, how I feel, where I work, what I eat, then and by aligning that and by changing my habits, I'm having a revolution also to my wealth, what I own, my possessions, um, and my overall sense of well-being, because I value myself more. And your Jupiter ruling this second house, especially if your spouse is of Jupiterian nature, then you can improve upon your relationship as well, because Jupiter also rules the spouse and it also rules the children. It also rules semen, so semen count. Saturn in Pisces is a semen count. If you have issues with semen count, that can also be a way to tend to that, or as a part of a holistic structure. Okay, you change the structure to your life. You now hold different values, liquidity, okay, so cash flow can be in better shape because you understand what needs to be done and you do it, then things change. Okay, sometimes we understand that, oh, that needs to be done and that is so necessary, and we're so afraid, Saturn, that we don't do, we get numb. But sometimes we understand what needs to be done and we hold our toes, give a space between them, meditate on that thing, sleep on that thing, and boom, it changes. We get the right thing to do. If there's an offer coming in, there's another job coming in, or you're being laid off. Saturn in the second house means you're being laid off as well because it's income. um, so hey, you're being laid off, but there's another thing that's much more fit to the correct structure in your life. And as you improve upon your structure in the next 3 years, you will see that even if you got laid off, you will see, oh, I got my life back, or I got a better job, or I'm handling money in a different way now. So those were the 12 signs, and that was our Do It by Feet episode for today. Thank you so much for watching. I will probably upload it on a Jupiter day when the moon is already growing, and I'll see you in my next episode. So bye bye.